Okay, so Apple just dropped a new software update. But here's the catch. You can't actually download it. So why are we even talking about it? Well, because this early version for developers, it's like getting a sneak peek into the future of your iPhone. Let's dive in and see what it's all about.
And it all kicks off with this simple number, 26.5. Now, I know what you're thinking. That doesn't exactly scream revolutionary, right? But in the software world, believe me, every single decimal point tells a story. This right here, this is the next chapter for iOS. And right now, developers are getting the very first look.
So the big question is, what's actually new here? We all get excited about those big, flashy, new features, the ones that change how we use our phones. But this update, it's a little different. To really get what's going on, we've got to look under the hood.
All right, first up, let's talk about Apple's latest developer beta. What exactly just dropped, and who is this really for?
So here's the headline. iOS 26.5 Developer Beta 2 is now officially out there. And this isn't just a random update. It's a really key step in Apple's very methodical release process. Think of it as a milestone that takes the software from a tiny group of developers and starts it on the path to, well, all of us.
But what even is a developer beta? Honestly, the best way to think about it is like a brand new skyscraper that's still under construction. You and I can't go in yet, right? But the architects and engineers, or in this case, the app developers, they get early access. Their job is to go in, test everything out, and make sure their apps are going to work perfectly when the doors finally open for everyone.
And for those developers, getting their hands on this is super easy. It's actually built right into the iPhone settings. A few taps and boom, they're running Apple's very latest code and can start testing.
Okay, so let's get to the good stuff. What new features are we actually unpacking here? Let's take a closer look. Now, this is really important. Unlike those huge 0.0 releases that drop a ton of new bells and whistles on us, this update is all about one thing: refinement. Here's a way to think about it. If your iOS is a high-performance race car, this update isn't a brand new model. It's the expert pit crew jumping in for a super fast tune-up, making everything faster, safer, and more reliable for the next lap. So refinement sounds kind of vague, right? What does it actually mean for you and me? Well, it means squashing that super annoying bug where your keyboard lags for a second. It means making Face ID feel just a fraction of a second quicker. It's also about crucial security patches to keep your data safe. But maybe most importantly, a lot of this is happening under the hood, laying the groundwork for big new features we can't even see yet. Okay, so how is all this behind-the-scenes work actually going to change how you use your iPhone every day?
Like, the whole goal here is to get rid of those tiny little frustrations we all deal with. When an app just randomly crashes, or you get that little stutter when you're scrolling. Apple is pushing for that perfect after experience, where your phone just works, smoothly, reliably, exactly how you want it to.
And this is the really cool part. Even though only a handful of developers have this today, what they're testing is basically a direct preview of the more polished, more stable experience that's going to roll out to millions of us. You can think of this beta as the final dress rehearsal before the big show.
All right, let's zoom out for a second and look at the bigger picture here. Because an update like this isn't just about a few lines of code. It's actually a window into Apple's entire strategy. So you have to ask yourself, is this just another routine, boring update? Or is it a piece of a much larger plan? The truth is, if you start to look at the pattern of how Apple does these releases, a really clear philosophy starts to take shape. Apple's whole game is what you'd call incremental refinement. They use these frequent beta cycles to keep their entire ecosystem incredibly stable, which is just crucial for that premium brand they've built. Now compare that to the Android world. They often go for these huge annual releases just packed with new features and innovation. The trade-off is that the experience can feel a little different depending on which phone you have. It's not about right or wrong, it's just two totally different ways of thinking about how to build a mobile OS.
Okay, so we've covered what this beta is and why it matters. So what happens next? Let's look at the road ahead. What's the path from this developer-only version to the update that lands on your phone? The roadmap from here is actually pretty predictable. So right now, we're in the developer beta stage. Soon, Apple will probably drop a public beta, which means if you're feeling adventurous, you can try it out. After that comes what's called the release candidate. That's pretty much the final version, unless a huge bug pops up at the last second. And then, the final step, the official public launch. That's when we all get that little notification on our phones. So when you boil it all down, an update like this is really doing two things at once. On one hand, it's polishing the iPhone experience we have right now. But on the other, it's secretly building the foundation for whatever huge new features are coming next. It's evolution and preparation, all wrapped up in one single update.
And that leaves us with a really interesting thought. These small 0.5 updates, they can feel so routine, almost boring, but so often they contain the DNA of the next big thing. It kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? Which one of these minor bug fixes that developers are testing today is actually laying the groundwork for the killer feature that everyone will be talking about next year?